So, we're here with the PlayStation 1. Nice to have a simple console project. I shouldn't say simple because that's going to, anger the gods and they'll make it complicated. So we're going to do the PsNee project. For those of you unaware, the PsNee is an Arduino or ATmega chip-based mod chip for the PlayStation. It's kind of like a stealth mod. It works a little different. It's a bit smarter than that. But yeah. So first of all, what we've got to do is open this guy up and figure out what model of PS1 we're dealing with. So, I have a notepad here. So, I've already written down that we have an SCPH7502. And I know that because one of the disk drive emulators that recently came out, a really cool looking one, isn't compatible with this model of Mainboard at the moment, but I've forgotten exactly what revision it is, and I need to look up wiring diagrams for that. So let's start taking out screws. By the way, don't go touching anything here, in case you don't know that already. This PS4 hasn't, or PS4. This PS1 hasn't been turned on in quite some time, so I'm not really worried about it holding a charge. And I've hit the button to try and cycle it, but yeah, you got to be really careful because there's mains voltage back here, and kind of step down voltage here, and you're going to get a nasty sting. So don't do that. Rightio then. So, let's start writing stuff down. So this says PU. So I'm looking at this number here, PU/22. What's that? I don't know if it actually uses this can on top as a heat spreader. I doubt it. This can is probably not needed, so if I get it off, I'm not going to be putting it back on again. Alrighty then. So yeah, I'm just going around kind of cleaning them up more than anything else. If I do decide later to kind of wick off the solder that's there, introducing fresh stuff like this will make it easier. If I don't, just leaves them kind of neater looking, I guess. This is a very light board. Just kind of holding it up to the light there, I can kind of see different depths of traces. I think this is a 3-layer board, if I had to guess, just from kind of holding it up to the light. It's very light. It reminds me of the kind of weight of boards that you'd find in kind of controllers. So I'd imagine it would be quite easy to rip a trace on this board. So I'm immediately going to turn my iron down to like something like 350. I'm going to avoid heat shock to the board, kind of thermal stress on the board. Okay, so I found an image online corresponding to our version of the motherboard, the PU-22. So what I'd like to do is just go over to the desktop here so you can see it. So you can see our wiring points. We have sub Q and SOC, VCC and ground, should be easy enough off that capacitor. And we have data and gate. Now gate is quite dark there, so wait till I zoom in and I'll see where the arrow is pointing. Okay, so it's actually above. Right, so they're all fairly manageable. So I have some Kynar wire, 30 gauge, same stuff I used on the PS2 Modbo 5 install. I'm going to leave it extra long so that I have like loads of wire at the end. And when I actually do the final install, I'll make it a lot shorter. So let's find this point. Okay, so we have our first point. I'll just use the tip of this pen right here. Again, this tip on my iron is quite large, but I don't think we'll have much trouble. Oh, and my iron's asleep. Yeah. If you're buying a soldering station, get one that has the kind of sleep function built into kind of a magnetic switch in the stand. Don't have one of these timed ones. You want your iron to be awake when you grab it. Don't have to hit the dial. It can be annoying. Okay, so that should do. So that's our first wire on. We should have 2 resistors and then a solder point just above them. So if we go back over to my scene, you should see the same here. Okay, so you can see it instantly. It is just here. So again, let me tin that. Okay, get some fresh solder on there. I'll try and get this one orientated in roughly where I want it. And kind of give it a little tug. Yeah, that's okay. And the next one we want to find are sub Q and sock. So we can see them there. These 2 here. So in our image down by this IC, VCC and ground. So we're going to wire these up, leaving the wires fairly long. Don't worry about poor RX0 there. He got toasted when I was taking this out of the Mega Drive. D9 is going to the, I was going to call it the WTF pin, but it's the WFCK pin, gate. Checked it there, and again, this is super quick and super ugly because I just want to test it out and see if it works. what we'll do then is we'll clean up the installation afterwards. I'll unsolder all these wires, and we'll solder in it nice short runs. I've given myself lots of extra space for that very reason. So this is sub Q on pin 7. Pin 6 afterwards is SQCK. Again, I don't need a whole lot of solder here. That'll do. So VCC, rather than go to VIN, I'm going to go to the pin here, or will I just go to VIN? Let's go to VIN. Let's not take any chances. Okay, so that's it soldered. It's ugly. It's not really meant to be pretty, but it'll do. It's just enough so we can test it. So as you can see, I have a poking at the side here, and I did try booting it there with my backup copy of Symphony of the Night, but it didn't work. I was thinking something was leveraging it, and I tried it then with Metal Gear Solid and booted normally, but you'd expect it to do that being a PAL system. So hopefully I don't take drive with me this time. That's good. So the plan is to reflash the this guy. At first it didn't work because I had the because it was programmed using serial, it expected power over the serial bus, so I had to move VCC from VIN to the voltage pin on the actual in-circuit programmer header here. And that's simply because we're not using the bootloader anymore, so that's where it expects to get power from for some reason. So that's no big deal, but I do have to desolder these wires now, which does mean that all this wonderful stuff has to come out. Again, watch the power supply. I'm going to cycle it a few times. Yeah, all this has to come out, because once I desolder the wires from the Arduino, I won't know which ones are which. On my desktop I have the wiring diagrams for the Arduino Nano. Now, is that German? I think it's German. It doesn't matter, we can follow the wiring all the same. So what we need to do is get 5 volts, which is here, and that is going to go to this pin. Now, I've made up these cables myself and they have a little bit of heat shrink on them, so sometimes they don't fit too good, but that's alright. Ground we're going to get from the other side. That there. Should have done the center one first, but I can always pull that away. So what is that center one? It is D11. So I've come across here. Oh, wrong end. D11 should be this guy here. I'll just pull out ground for a second. And we'll plug in D11. Might have to slightly bend some of these pins. Wasn't really a great idea putting the heat shrink on these. Okay, it's a rather snug fit, as you can see. So that's D11. So the next one, I'll do the center one on the back, which is D13. So D13 is here. It's not the best lead I've ever made. And yeah, super snug. There we go. This is D12. There we go. D12 is this side. Okay. And the final one is D10, which is here. So nano to nano ISP is slightly different than others, just in where things are laid out. But that should do us. Again, that's not ideal the way they're all clumped together like that. It's bending the pins and putting stress on the solder joints on this guy. But yeah, that should do us. So, get this hooked up with USB.
Okay, so here we are in the Arduino IDE. I've made the font size 24 because we're viewing this on a 4K monitor. So with the Arduino we've plugged into the breadboard, what we need to do there before we can flash over serial, use it as an ISP, we need to go to load one of the example sketches. So if we go down here to number 11, Arduino ISP, so preferably before you've hooked up the others, the idea would be that you would first flash the first Arduino that you want to use as your programmer, the one on the breadboard with the Arduino ISP. When you first open it, this will be commented out. So this is governing what type of Arduino that you're using. So we're using the Arduino 328 board. Both the Uno and the Nano are Arduino 328. So we want to uncomment that. One thing I had done that had stopped my mod chip from working was I seen this line here and thought, oh, that's a good idea, because it says apply PS1 PAL BIOS patch. So I actually didn't need that, so I had uncommented that and flashed it, but I didn't need to do that. So you want to leave that commented out. So the hash define apply PS1 PAL BIOS patch. Even if you're using a PAL console, I'm sure there is use cases for it, but I didn't need to use it. Then once that's done, if you hover over the upload button, if you hold shift, you'll see it says upload using programmer. So since we have our Nano configured to be an in-circuit programmer, an ISP programmer, that's what we want to do. We want to hold shift and click upload.
So I've re-uploaded the code with that bit about the PAL BIOS patch thing commented out. I have the PlayStation hooked up to the cheap SCART HDMI converter, and I'm capturing here with OBS, so I have to go off the kind of camera stand in order for this to work. So let's fire up the PlayStation. I will be cleaning the laser and doing a lot of kind of other quality of life things if this works. Yeah, it's worked. It wouldn't have got to that point if it wasn't working. So there we go. Come on, NTSC. Nice. So yeah, that's my backup copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So we'll just hit start. Let's see if I can see my file select. Yeah, it's got my data there. Excellent. Can't wait to play this. What we're going to do is we're going to power it down, and we're going to shorten our wires, do a little bit of cleanup around the main board. So we have like about 1 kilometer's worth of wire in here that we need to kind of reduce down. But first things first, being lazy, I'm not actually going to desolder these. I'm just going to get my flush cutters and start cutting. So what I need to do is kind of position this roughly where it's going to go, which is about here. And can I glue it down? Yeah, I don't like using hot glue because it's kind of messy, but in situations like this it's ideal, I guess. Okay. Okay, that's more than enough. Just to hold it in place. No real good way to secure it down on the other side, other than to give it more hot snot. I have angered the modding gods by doing this. We were doing a really neat mod up until I decided to use hot snot. So that's our PsNee Arduino Nano mod chip installed. I don't really need this tape here now. I'm going to leave it there because, yeah, it just keeps the wires from getting pinched. So the idea being there that, you know, once I come along and place our, where is it going to go? This way. Once I come along and place this guy, that it shouldn't really interact with our mod chip much. And it looks like it does. So yeah, I just bent in the bottom of the shield a little so that it wouldn't short up against the Nano. Ugly as sin, but it'll just reassure me that nothing is going to short against the case. So, I have my backup copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Oop, helps to turn on the console, I guess. There we go. So hopefully this works. Using my Hori pad that I still have to get around to modding. I have a mod plan for this. So there we go. So you can see NTSC 443. Another kind of criticism of that cheap SCART to HDMI converter, that thing's waits around far too long, that box. Oh man. Yeah, what a game. It's one of those games that's worth owning a console just for this game. Because the only game you have on PS1, then you have a good PS1 collection.
Wait a moment. You seem human, and yet, what do you here?
I've come to destroy this castle.
Then we have the same purpose. I'll trust you for now. I'm Maria. Who are you?
Alucard.
Not the talkative type, I can see. Well, perhaps we'll meet again, if you live that long. Farewell.
So what I want to do now, just real quick, even though I know there's not much point in this because it's pretty much guaranteed to work when the backup copy works, but I just want to try Metal Gear Solid. Konami are getting a lot of good press here, aren't they? Yeah.
Snake, your mission is to infiltrate, not to fight. Don't let the enemy see you. First, you've got to rescue the DARPA chief. Infiltrate the building in front. Look for some way to get in.
So that'll do.
So that's been the PsNee mod chip for the PlayStation 1. A cool mod chip. It's cool that you can use an Arduino. Makes it really accessible. And it's great to see the PS1 getting some love lately with the X-Station ODE optical drive emulator and a true HDMI mod now available for the console. Unfortunately, this model doesn't support the X-Station. I could put the HDMI mod in there. Hopefully in the future it will. They'll update the firmware or kind of crack that lock in order to get it working with some other revisions of the Sony PlayStation. It's nice doing console projects again. We've a lot of PC stuff happening on the channel recently. So cool. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll chat to you all again.